Welcome to episode 78 of the Bikini Besties podcast. I'm Lo.
Kaylia.
Stephanie.
And this week's episode is posing coach versus competition coach. And we are sitting here with the entire performance posing team. We actually have Lexi joining us here. She's in person here in Idaho.
Yes.
Welcome, Lexi.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit of who you are, and since they haven't met you on our podcast yet. So thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. So I have been with Performance Posing as the wellness coach for 2 years now. I was training for wellness for 5 years or so, and actually just recently I did switch to the figure division. My niche is still wellness for all posing, but that's kind of where I'm at with my own personal bodybuilding journey. And yeah, I'm living in Texas, so I'm just in Idaho to visit, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we thought it would be perfect too, or I thought it'd be perfect. We are going to be having like our quarterly posing episodes, and I was like, oh, we need to have Lexi on, duh. When the first one, we didn't have her on, so going forward, we'll have Lexi on to chime in. She's an amazing posing coach, and so yeah. So today's episode is, like Lo said, posing coach versus competition coach, and what is posing coaching? And so I just kind of wanted all of us to spend some time and talk through like what is the posing coach's role? What is the competition coach's role? How do those two work together? Defining what posing coaching is, when to use it, how to use it. So in like kind of to define posing coaching, and you guys can, definitely chime in, but in my eyes, it is basically teaching the process of presenting your physique on stage. And so, that is teaching you your mandatory poses, your transitions, breathing, core control, basically everything from start to finish of being on stage, and how to navigate the stage. So, what you're going to be doing in prejudging, what you're going to be doing at finals, just all of teaching you just the 101 of stage presence. And I think like today would be really good to dive into kind of the role of the posing coach and the competition coach. I know I kind of see like the role of the posing coach as like, we are the specialist in stage presence. And then like the competition coach is like the architect of the physique. Yeah. That's kind of like how I've like said it to other people. It's how I've described it. And I don't know, do you guys have any kind of like anything you would elaborate on in regards to like what is posing coaching and the role of the posing coach?
Well, I would just say just like a simple blanket statement is the coach is going to be creating the physique, where the posing coach is going to be showcasing the physique and displaying it on the stage. So I think that's the like biggest factor between the two. That's different. Yeah.
It's one thing that I wish I started with earlier, because I know in my like early competition years, I just had a coach. Like I didn't have a posing coach and things like that. And now we know what my Achilles heel is. So I wish that I started with posing coaching maybe a little bit earlier to kind of just like you said, showcase my physique and just work on that stage presence. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to competing, and sometimes a competition coach doesn't meet or isn't able to. Maybe they don't have the bandwidth or the time or even the knowledge to hit every single area that it takes to get onto stage. And they might be an expert in nutrition or training or just overall competition prep and peaking for the stage, but they might not be an expert in your posing, because there's a lot more nuance to it. And it makes a huge difference. So if you can have like one of the best physiques in the world, but not know how to present it. So the posing coach is who helps you learn how to present all your hard work, and even maybe help you feel more confident in presenting the hard work that you and your competition coach have done together.
Yeah. Especially like your best, side or the best aspect of your physique too, because hitting a side glute pose on your left versus your right and those sort of things too.
Yeah, I mean, we can all kind of attest to like how much goes into posing.
Oh yeah,
like so much goes into posing, especially like if you think of yourself starting as like a brand new competitor. Like just how much there is to it. Competition coaches have like they're full. Like they've got full rosters, they've got check-ins, they're dealing with the designing programming, dealing with, you know, the diet protocols, training protocols, all of that. And so like that's like they don't have the time to, you know, invest that kind of time into teaching you the 101 of presenting your physique on stage. And so that's where the posing coach comes in. It's kind of like, you know, there's specialists in all kinds of things. And so, you know, like even like you working with LPF specialists and things like that, like that's another thing. Like as a posing coach, we go over like basic fundamental like breathing and core control stuff that they'll need to know for the stage. But if it is really an issue that you're having and something you need to problem solve and work on, that's where we will then refer to an LPF specialist. That is their specialty. They have the time to really dive into the nuances of that kind of stuff. And so we would refer to someone like that for a specialist. And so coaches, kind of competition coaches, do the same thing with posing coaches. You're the specialist in presenting the physique. And so we spend the time diving into that. So then, you know, they can focus on like the diet, the training, and getting you ready, your physique ready for the stage. So yeah, I kind of wanted to, like, with posing coaching, something that I don't know what you guys have experienced working with, you know, new competitors and things like that. But with posing coaching, something that's important to me is that we are there to like help you, like Lo said, you know, build your confidence for getting on stage and preparing you. So and part of that building that confidence is preparing you for the stage, making sure that you are able to navigate like every scenario. Not only do you know your poses and your transitions, your routine, but like we've prepared you for what might happen on stage, what judges, like their terminology, what you're going to be doing on stage. So that way you are just prepared when you go up there. Our role is not to, like, I'm sure you guys have gotten questions from competitors of like asking about their conditioning or their development, or asking questions about their like their training program or their, you know, their macros and things like that. And that's fair. Like they're just, you know, we're experienced competitors as well, and you know, they're just genuinely asking questions. But I think it's important to state that like the posing coach should not really be critiquing you on your like your protocols, your conditioning, your development. That's for your coach. That's your the coach's role, and we're there to, you know, maybe be a sounding board. Sometimes I say like, if you take on the role of a coach, you're kind of a therapist sometimes too, an informal therapist. But you know, be a sounding board. But I think give them encouragement and advice on how to have that conversation with their coaches, rather than giving our opinion and input.
Yeah. And also I think that it's really great to have that separated, because when I'm working with a client, I'm not sitting there judging their conditioning, where a competition coach, they can't help it because their whole job is to make sure that you're conditioned correctly. So instead of looking at your physique to see if you're posing correctly, they can't help it being like, oh, maybe I need to drop their carbs. Oh, maybe they need more cardio. Oh, maybe we should be training more, because their brain is working on your physique. And so they're sitting there evaluating your physique and what their plan needs to be to get it better for stage. Where when I'm working with a client as a posing coach, I don't care where your physique is. I'm helping you create the shape. I'm looking at your footwork. I'm looking at your angles. I'm looking at your mobility. I'm looking at your performance. I'm looking at your flow, your tempo. I'm focused on the things that it takes for posing, where a coach would be distracted in thinking about their plan for building your physique. So it's kind of nice to have that separated too, because then you're working with someone who's not sitting there being like, oh, well, maybe we should add cardio to your plan, when they really should be like, okay, let's drill your front pose again. So I think it's really sometimes a huge benefit to have that separated.
Yeah. And there will be times, like, you know, I've had times where a client has maybe been like, oh, but I want to get my waist smaller, or I want to, you know, I want to show more glute. And so there are times where, based on their physique, we can assess and say, you are in the pose, the best for your physique right now. Part of prep is, as you keep getting closer to your show, you will notice your waist getting smaller, your glute pop coming out more, because you're getting closer to that stage look. We say things like that. We position things like that. We don't critique and say like, yeah, you just got to lose about 10 more pounds, or you know, you just get like, we don't like say anything like that because that's not our role. We have no idea, you know, how
It's
much.
hard to judge that on like a snapshot.
Yeah.
Whereas the coach has the full
picture from from start to finish.
Yeah.
Their building season, the start of their prep, you know, wherever we don't know.
All the
And
other biofeedback.
yeah, exactly. So, so I do like to encourage and let them know, like, part of the process is, and even part of posing coaching is, we're paying attention to the changes in your physique. And so as we see, like, you know, the delt come out more, the glute come out more, or the waist gets smaller, we might make these little adjustments to your front pose, and we'll watch that. But you're in it the best for where your physique is at, kind of right now. Do you ever kind of encounter anything?
Yeah,
like that?
well, I mean, just to tap on that, it's going to be wherever your physique is at currently, that's what I am going to be posing to make it look best at that state of time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, same thing as, that's why it's important, I think, to be consistent with your posing coach throughout your prep. So you're always looking over and making those tweaks as you go, rather than, you know, taking a big break and then coming back later, and then reality, we could have been fine tuning as you've gotten leaner. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I think something else that kind of, our role involves is presentation, the presentation side of things. So, like, our role is teaching posing coaching, but we also get a lot of questions on, like, suit, hair, makeup, things like that, and where we may not be the specialists in, like, hair and makeup and stuff like that, we can give advice. Now, sometimes coaches themselves, the competition coach, it just depends, has a big hand in that. Like, they are part of that process, and they want to see the suit, jewelry, hair, makeup, all that kind of stuff. They'll talk to you about the tanning process and everything. But, you know, if not, we're there to help answer those questions as well. What that process is, how to order your suit, kind of what the cuts you may need or want. But we also always, like, preface it with, this is our advice, our opinion, talk to your coach, see if they agree, and, you know, and before you order anything, like, so I help a lot with the presentation side of things. And a lot of it is just kind of like helping them, like, pick suit colors, or, you know, should I color my hair or not, or should, you know, just certain questions like that.
Yeah.
Or even when they're wearing their suit, when they get it, helping them wear it correctly. Like, I've had a lot of girls, like, telling them to bring their connectors up, because maybe they don't realize where it's actually supposed to sit and how it's made.
Right.
Especially in Fit Model lately, I've had to have some girls adjust their bottoms and be like, okay, be sure to glue. Fit Model's the only division I really recommend gluing.
Yeah.
But, like, gluing the suit, because you have to have that 50% coverage, and they don't know. And so I encourage, like, in peak week and stuff, to, like, put on your suit for me when you come to your session, because then I can help make sure you're wearing it correctly, and then it's fitting correctly, or even earlier if you have the suit earlier, so then you can maybe get it tailored if needed or adjusted.
And as the athlete, like, it's your team that's behind you, like your competition coach, your posing coach, that sort of thing. So even just making sure that you as the athlete are communicating between your team members as efficiently and as effectively as possible, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and we also help with things like explaining what to do with your hair. You know, some girls will ask, like, should my hair be in front, or should I put it in the back, or, you know, how to wear their jewelry, like, how big of ear, you know, I've had girls where I'm like, oh, that's a lot, way too much earring. That's, like, a lot. Like, we need to bring that down a little bit. Or, like, you know, how to wear their bracelets and rings, just those little questions. Like, that's what we're here for, as well. If, your competition coach doesn't really, you know, especially if it's a male competition coach. Sometimes male competition coaches are like, I don't know, go ask, you know. And so they might rely on us. So that's what they're for. But I always say, like, start with your competition coach, kind of ask them. And then if they want you to talk with your posing coach or someone else, then they'll kind of let you know. And
And one thing, I've recently had quite a few girls, because I've had quite a few true novice girls this fall. I know in our curriculum we talk about, like, the show day, how it runs, and, you know, like, almost even like a mock show day, talking about comparisons and when that is. And it's kind of interesting to me how many clients have no clue how show day even goes, being true novice. And so it's kind of nice that to have, like, as the posing coach, we incorporate it in, like, our, I think it's like, what, phase 5 of our curriculum, of how show day goes. And I think that's really important, because then you have an expectation and feel more prepared for show day in general. with a lot of my clients going into peak week, I'll even virtually, I'll do like a mock show day virtually. And I'll like be like, okay, so right now envision you're walking on with 5 girls, you're third in line and you stop and you're all next to each other. Okay, you're standing there. And I'll like try to help them visualize it, because then it kind of just helps them prepare for what it's actually going to be like show day. I've had a lot of girls that like, I had one girl who didn't even know she had an individual routine. I was like, how did that get missed?
Yeah.
And so even though we prepared and stuff, then so we did the mock show day, and she's like, oh, now I see why we did all that.
Yes.
Like,
Just needed to see where it fit in the whole
that's where that
process.
fits in.
I like that. And another thing with that as well is I always tell my girls to, yes, I will go through it that way, but also like, hey, maybe look up on YouTube a show, or go look up
Watch
the
a
show that
show.
you're going to be doing from last year, see how they kind of run it to give you an idea. And then they can watch that, come back and be like, oh, okay, that is, you know.
Yeah. Just
I've
little
been
bit more
sending a lot of
familiarity.
girls our prejudging folder.
You
Kaylee
guys,
created
our
a Google.
FAQ, yeah, so good. Our competitor FAQ guide comes on
Yeah.
this month. It is so good. Anyways, okay.
Excited.
Well, you
Plug.
can announce
Plug.
that.
Yeah. Well, we're not ready. Hang on. We're not ready to
Yeah.
announce it. But it's like, it's 89 pages. And it's
Oh, wow.
amazing.
That's awesome.
I'm so excited.
awesome.
You will be very prepared for show day.
Yes.
And with that being said too, like Kalia especially has spent a lot of time putting together content and guides. We don't send those for them to just sit in your inbox unopened. Like, as a client, it's your responsibility to research, and we're giving you the resources as your coaches. And so reading through that will help you like be able to be a better student and athlete, because there is so much information to learn. And so when coaches take the time to give you all these guides, they are worth it. Like, I wish like 1,000 times over someone had given me a guide when I started.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
And so all too often I feel like sometimes I send a guide multiple times when I start with someone, because I really want them to take the time to read it, because it is so helpful to understand the process and maybe even see the big picture, or even some of the details, a bunch of FAQ stuff that maybe I didn't think. I am so used to seeing so many people, like I thought everybody knew that, and I didn't realize you didn't know that. And so it could be something that you could look through and then realize you have questions to ask your competition coach or to ask your posing coach.
It's probably easier to build on during a session when someone's already familiar with the basics. Then you can even take in more information instead of like all of this information coming at you at once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think like, especially if you're posing coach, competition coach, whatever coach you're using, if they give you resources,
Oh my gosh, that's gold.
gold, because there's so much information on the internet, and it is like, it's scattered. Like, there's so much information. There's a bunch of different opinions. This sport is subjective. And so like, if your coach gives you information, it's because it's just, that's how they do things. That's their process, or those are like the suit companies they want you to use, the jewelry they want you, whatever. It's their formula to bring you to the stage. And so they're not giving you that just to give that to you. It's this, they want you to utilize that information. So just take the time. Just while you're doing cardio, look through all of these resources.
And look through it again maybe a couple months later, because maybe you understand more as you have learned more, and it will make more sense when you review it again.
You pick up on different things too.
Yeah, exactly. And with that even said too, like with your posing coach, like a lot of times you either only have a 30-minute or a 15-minute virtual session. It's quick. Or even in person, it's like there could be a back-to-back session, because coaches like to make sure that they're, using their time at the gym very efficiently. And so come to your sessions prepared, with your heels on, with your suit on. And it only benefits you to like even have like your space prepared, make it easier for the coach. Like, being in your suit does make a difference. Having good lighting makes a difference. They can actually see your physique. Having a tripod and your camera set at the right height makes a huge difference. And it's something that I feel like you should be doing for your competition coach anyway, for your check-ins. And so I feel like using a similar setup for your posing coach is also just really helpful.
Yeah, I think many coaches, competition coaches, will probably tell you how they want check-ins done. If they don't, ask. And so I think nowadays we kind of see a lot of it online of like the black backdrop, the ring light,
Yeah.
but ask your coach what they want for check-ins. And then if they don't have specifics, then, maybe ask your posing coach or ask a teammate or, ask those kind of things. But this kind of is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about is like the structure of a posing session. So like what does, and we all, like, even though we're all part of performance posing, we kind of follow the same curriculum structure, but we all have our own styles. And that's what makes us unique. But, I'll kind of start like, when you do a posing session with me, I typically start it with, getting to know you. Like, and if this is a brand new client, or then, we're getting to know each other maybe for a little longer in the first few sessions. I ask about your competition history, or if you're, brand new, what you know about the sport. Like Lexi said, she recommends people watch shows. I ask, have you been to a show? Have you watched any live streams? Just what their knowledge is, so then I know what I'm starting with. And then, but if it's someone who's a reoccurring client, I have a little bit more of a personal touch, and so we might chat for a couple minutes. But then we dive into, okay, how has posing practice been going? How has it been going since our last session? And get their feedback. And is there anything feeling sticky? Is anything that's not feeling good? And then we talk through that. I also ask any feedback from your coach. So that's a big one for me, is to show that like this is a collaborative effort. And so I ask them, like, is there anything they've been telling you in your check-ins with your mandatory poses, your front pose, your back pose, your routine? And then a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, this. I'm like, okay. And then we can kind of dive into what it is. It helps me understand like the different coaches and what their different likes or dislikes aren't. I think we all have different eyes. And so some coaches will have different preferences on how they like a certain pose or whatever. And so we chat through that, and then I get a good understanding, and I have them show me, what it is that their coach may want them to do. And that way I get an idea, and then we go, okay, we'll work on that. And then we start the session, and we usually start the session with the coach's feedback, the stuff that maybe was feeling kind of sticky for them, and problem solving that. And then I do a review of the session, the last session, so I can see how posing progress has been going, and then we build on that. And so then when I see if we're ready for the next thing, then we kind of start working on the next thing, teach it, drill it, fine tune it, and then kind of towards the end of it, we kind of recap. I go over, explain how I want them to practice. So I set them up. I don't just go, okay, this is what we've done, and leave it up to them. I give very detailed instruction of how I want them to practice. I know them, so I know what their kind of schedule is like, where they can fit it in, I know how many sessions of posing practice they're doing a week, how long, and then how the order, and I'm very detailed at the order in which I want them to practice. We have a posing practice guide that we send out, and so that also gives like a general structure. But with my client, based on what they're working on, I will tell them exactly kind of what they want them to do, how many reps. And then we talk about when the next session will be, or whether they're going to use a video critique or a posing session. So that's kind of like that's my structure. But yeah, I don't know. You guys do anything? I'm sure it's going to be kind of similar.
Well,
but.
it's pretty similar. I mean, a client comes to me, I'm going to kind of review over the form that they sent in, look over their experience level. I'll also talk to them personally, make it more personable. Of course, I want to get to know my clients. I want them to know me a little bit more. And I will always start my sessions with mandatory posing, no matter how far along this client is. Even if this client is just needing small fine-tuning things, they want to work on their routine really bad, I'll be like, okay, of course, let's just look at your mandatories really quick, making sure that is on point. Of course, that is the most important thing. So I always start out with mandatories, and then from there, I just kind of build off of that every single session. And like Kalia said, I will take feedback from where they are struggling and work through maybe different cues to accomplish the same thing that might click with them better. So, and just keep on building off of that, and making sure at the end of the day, or at the end of our time working together, that they know from being side stage looking at the stage entering the stage, doing everything, and coming off exactly what they need to do with confidence so they can actually enjoy show day.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I structure mine fairly similarly. I always do go back to the basic poses first. Before I work on what I usually at the beginning of every session ask what they want to work on, or like what they've been working on, what they're struggling with. Then I make them, okay, we'll get to that, and then I make them hit each of their main poses, because at the end of the day, like the judges, they're not, the transitions aren't what they're looking for. They're looking to make sure that you're perfect in your front, your back pose, or side poses, whatever division you're in. And so it's like very important to have the foundation. And a lot of times, like girls really like, they'll come and their request to work on is something that maybe is like steps further than they are. And so a lot of times I feel like I have to I do acknowledge, like, yes, we will work on that, and I maybe will help them feel like we're reaching that. But a lot of times I find myself, I have to make sure that because I know it's gonna it will pay off if they can go from the foundation and really build up to what they're wanting to get out of the session. And sometimes it can be a challenge because I feel like everybody wants to skip to the final thing, or like to be at an advanced level. And so it's really great when they give us more time or more sessions to build to their level. But yeah, I think I structure my actual sessions very similarly to both of you. I love that at Performance Posing, we do record our sessions for our clients and we send them a link afterwards. I always tell my clients, like when I'm giving them their like steps and how to practice afterwards, to review the video. That is always in their homework, as to review what we just worked on. And if there's any cue or anything that like we worked on specifically, I'll be like, okay, remember it was about halfway through the session that we worked on this. I want you to specifically go back and review how you looked when we were talking about that. Because sometimes going back and like reviewing the video of you listening to my voice telling you how to get into something is different than even how it felt. Like maybe it will click more when you like see it and be like, oh, I see why she was telling me to move my arm like that. And so I love that we have that tool to help afterwards. So I always assign watching the video as part of my homework.
Yeah, same.
Because I think it's so important.
Yeah, and something you were talking about with looking at the mandatories, I call it technique rounds. So I tell them, like, okay, that's the same thing. Like I start with like, okay, we're going to go, like you said, go through your mandatory poses. And I was like, we want to look at your technique and then fine tune anything we need to fine tune. Make sure you're hitting your stopping points correctly, and then we'll move into your transitions and your routine. I also actually, like you were saying, they want to jump to the fun stuff, the routine, the transitions, the hair flip. But I the hair flip. But I actually tell them, I educate them and say, I know you want to do the routine and the fun stuff, and we're going to get there. But all the girls you see on Instagram, the girls who are, super flowy and pretty and they're posing that you want to look like and be like, they had to start with a foundation and with technique rounds, and that's why they're so good and they look like that. So we got to start here, and then we're going to get there. And then I just let them know, like you said, it's coming, but and then let them know that how you said the judges, like I explain that to them. I explain to the client, my clients, that like, here is really what the judges care about. And we actually did our first posing episode, What Really Matters in Posing. We went over this in a lot of detail. So if you haven't listened to the What Really Matters in Posing episode, it's like 68 or 69 or something like that. Go back and listen to that, because we went into a lot of detail and we talk about what the judges care about. And they care about judging your physique, not your transitions. And so at the end of the day, I said this in the last episode, it's a physique contest, not a posing contest. And so they want you to stop. They want to assess your physique. They want to you need to make sure you're in the right angles, showing off your best assets, hiding your weaknesses. That's what posing is. And if you're too worried about kind of like moving around and dancing around, you may not show off those best angles and assets of your physique. And so learning the foundation, your stopping points, your mandatories it's just key. It's what this sport is, like really at the end of the day.
And I highly recommend when you assess like where you are as an athlete and you're hiring a coach or opposing coach, also assessing how much education you may need. You might not know how much until you start working with the coach, but it takes a long time to master a new skill. And so all too often I see clients push off until like a few weeks from their show and they come to me and they're like, help. And I, of course, want to make them feel the best way as possible, but then we rush the process and we're learning pieces of the routine before the foundation is even built. And so it's very difficult to even hit the mandatory poses and the stopping points perfectly like they should be unless you give yourself more time. So I always am like, when someone asks me, when do you start posing coaching? It's like now, yesterday. Maybe you do less time or less frequent sessions or something if you have a long season or a long off season, but building that foundation should be at the start of your journey. Just like you build muscle before you do prep, you have to build your skill before you can be able to fine tune it.
Well, let's dive more into that. Let's look at like let's separate improvement season and prep. Let's separate beginner and intermediate advanced because it's different. If, in my opinion, if you're a beginner competitor and you just got the idea, I want to compete, you know, you may not know yet like all the avenues of like all the different specialists who's going to be your competition coach. You know, I think the first thing is you're probably going to find a competition coach. Okay. That's step one. And then in that conversation, ask that competition coach about posing. They might even bring it up. And then what posing is. And if they have information and resources for you, if they have a posing coach they want you to work with, then listen to that. If they don't, then you can then now start exploring different posing coaches. But then I think posing coaching would kind of be that, or should be that next thing. And not just because I'm a posing coach and have a posing business, but like what was said earlier, if your coach builds this amazing physique, but you have no idea how to showcase it on stage, man, that's going to feel like a bummer. And,
and it makes sense to like, I even have like competition clients separately, and I recommend all of them in our first month of working together to do a posing session separately from check-ins, because you need to know how to hit your poses to start your check-in photos in your poses. So if you don't even know how to do a front and a back pose, how is your competition coach going to be assessing your posed physique? They
accurately
can't.
too, especially if you can do it the same every time, then that's more information that they can work
That
off
consistency over time is how you're going to gauge your progress in your photos. And if you don't know how to be in the pose for your photos, it only makes sense to start with learning that immediately.
Yeah, you don't have to have a show in mind. You don't have to have even a prep timeline in mind to learn posing.
Or maybe you hate posing and you're like, maybe I don't even want to compete.
Oh no, guys, I've had that. I don't know. I've literally had a client that started learning posing, and she's like, I am never doing this in a bikini in front of people. And she decided, like, she's like, this isn't for me. I'm going to be in shape, and that's fair.
Yeah.
That's like you have to get an idea. She didn't realize, you know, what it was and what it really entailed. She also went and saw a show. We did like, I think probably 6 posing sessions. And she's like, I'm not doing this in a bikini on stage. And she even said, she's like, maybe I changed my mind. But as of right now, where I'm at in life, not happening. And that's fair.
That's fine.
And so that happens. But anyways, what I wanted to say is like, you can never learn posing too early, but you can definitely learn it too late.
Yes.
And so don't learn it too late. And so the minute you get the idea you want to compete and you maybe find a competition coach, then start learning posing. And then, you know, from there, I think kind of now it's very popular to be in build seasons and improvement seasons before people go in preps. I think it was vice versa the other way several years ago. But now it's very common for coaches, I think, to be like, nope, you need to build for 6 months to 12 months and then we'll prep you. And so during that time, like, find a posing coach, and you don't need to see them every week, but like do one session, get a foundation, learn your mandatories, practice that for a month, and then come back, do another session, show how it's been going, learn some new technique, take another month off, maybe, you know, it just depends on how long like your build phase is and stuff like that, what your timeline is.
And it's kind of like those little bite-sized pieces also help build your confidence, because I can't imagine learning so much of it, you know, in that 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, and then on stage, like that would be all I would be thinking about. Like, did I do this right? Did I do this? And it takes away from your confidence and your ability to kind of be effortless on stage.
And I think sometimes posing can, for someone who's never posed before, can feel almost vulnerable and scary and uncomfortable, because you're putting your body out there maybe for the first time for someone to look at it in a bikini or sports bra and shorts or some way, and then also being in positions that are just not natural. And you have to like have someone be watching you figure out your body again, like a brand new like little infant there trying to figure out how to walk. And that can be so uncomfortable. So I think people procrastinate the uncomfortable part of it. They're like, that sounds scary, so I'm just gonna put that off. And they don't like mean to, and then they realize that it's like too late when it's like the end of prep, and they're like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially if you don't come from like a dance or cheerleading background like me. Yeah. Like that was very awkward.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
And I have another thing to say, going back to like improvement season posing is going to be, I feel like a lot of time it's like really important to break bad habits or make sure you don't start bad habits.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like your prep, it should be more about the fine tuning of things. Yeah. If you start with a posing coach during prep, I mean, we're going to try to give you as much information and help you to the best of our ability with the time given. It's also why it's really cool why performance posing gives the video back, because if you are on a time crunch, you can do the entire posing session practice watching your video back over and over and try to get the most out of it if you are in a crunch timeline. But in a perfect world, if you can start immediately, it is for the best, and you are going to have so much more confidence and have a better foundation for your coach.
I've never had a client say, oh my God, I can't believe I started so early. I've always had a client say, thank God I started early. There is so much to this that, you know, I've always had, it's kind of like, you know, the workout you pushed through because you didn't want to do it. And you're like, at the end, you're like, I'm so glad I did it. It's like that with learning posing early.
Like that. Yeah.
For sure.
Even in one season, I mean, I'm still working on my walk. Like there's still things that after, you know, X amount of years that you're still kind of evolving as you go as an athlete.
Yeah. And I've told clients a lot of times, like, well, when we go back and review like their main poses, like right at the beginning of the session, I'm like, we're not reviewing it because you just don't know your pose. We're reviewing this because we're going to forever. Like, forever. Like, literally, like, at the Olympia this year, like, I checked in person, I think, how many times, Cody? Like 6, 7 times in person. And we drilled.
I felt like it was more than that.
Yeah, I feel like it was more than I heard. It was like multiple times a day all week. And we drilled my front and back pose over and over and over again. And I'm literally at the pro level at the Olympia, and we're still drilling that basic foundation. Yes, I think we ran through my routine less than we just like made me go back and forth in between my front and back pose, because the routine didn't matter. She wanted my front and back pose perfect. And so it just like doesn't matter what level you're at. You could be at the national level, you could be at the pro level, you could be a beginner. Having those perfect front and back poses or mandatory poses matters. It matters so much, and you'll always be working on it because your body changes too as you grow.
As you grow and build as an athlete, like you're gonna have to make posing changes. You may have to change a side, and so I think now switching to an intermediate and advanced competitor in an improvement season. So I have a lot of intermediate and advanced who work with me after they had their season and then they continue posing in their improvement season because they take their feedback from their prep season and maybe they got some posing feedback, maybe they got whatever it is, and so okay, now we're going to fine tune this. Or maybe they saw like their photos and their videos and they're like, I actually don't want to do that move again. There was something they just didn't like how it looked and how they came across on stage, and so we review their footage together, we review their stage photos, and we go and their posing video routine and video, and then we go, okay, let's start playing with this. So we use improvement season I call it to kind of play, try new moves, try new, so I have some girls who are working on their opposite side. They think they didn't have time in a prep to really, nail it or get it down. The coach, we didn't really want to make that change. We were happy with where they were at, but we think we might want to try it the next time they prep. And so all improvement season, we're working on posing on their opposite side. That's what I think for this is for all levels, but especially for an intermediate and advanced competitor who may not really be learning anymore. They're just fine tuning and trying new things, and they just need that other eye. A lot of intermediate and advanced, the higher, higher levels you do get more. Your IQ for posing gets higher and higher. And so you may not need to see a posing coach every single week or 2 weeks. It might just be, I've got girls that check in within every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. They're like, okay, I've been working on this. What do you think? I want to do this move, but I'm not really figuring it out. And we're there to help problem solve and help them, teach them the footwork, whatever it is they're trying to do.
Yeah. And with that too, I just want to add, whenever I have a very advanced client coming to me, not always am I going to be changing things. Sometimes I'm like, that looks great.
Yes.
Let's keep it like that. So that's another big one for
I
me
think
too.
that's really important to say, is that just because you come to a posing coach, it's actually a good thing if we don't make changes. We don't need to always make changes. Maybe what you're doing is best for you. And I think and we need to we're the eyes to kind of confirm that. You're getting that second opinion. And we're yeah, you were on the right track. That looks great. And so that's I think that's really important, because I think sometimes some people just think they need to make a change, but you don't. You might be really solid where you are at, and then just go execute that. That's actually something I tell girls is I have a few of them right now. I'm like, this is perfect. Every time you come to me, every session, this is absolutely perfect. You don't need to make a change unless you want to make a change. Unless you want to learn something new. And I'm like, but what I really encourage you to do is take this, go put it on stage, because nerves, adrenaline, it changes things. So let's go execute this perfect that you got in practice on stage. And then let's see what it looks like on stage. And then we see if we need to make changes, because you could be really good in the studio. And then when you get on stage next to other bodies and just the adrenaline and the nerves, the lights, camera, action, the everything, it can freak you out. And then you black out a little bit and you make a little bit of mistakes. It just doesn't look the same way that it looked in posing practice. And so then you kind of need to see that, and then you need to assess it and then problem solve it. Or sometimes the answer too is you just need to compete on stage more. You just need that stage time. You need to pose under pressure. You need to pose nervous, or you just need to pose in front of people more. Maybe that is some of your posing.
Next to people.
Next to people. Maybe that's some of your feedback. Is it's not necessarily we need to change anything yet. I just need you to now go pose in front of friends, family members, teammates. Just be nervous, because we need to work through that and build that confidence. So that's some of it.
Being on stage also, I think, highlights your posing endurance, because when they have you hold poses for a certain amount of time before you're, doing comparisons, basically, sometimes it comes out then, and you realize that you start to get more and more relaxed, and then,
Yeah,
change
so
something then.
that's another reason why a posing coach could be a tool for a very advanced competitor, is for those conditioning rounds of your posing.
Yeah.
It may not be critiquing anymore. It's just about your endurance on stage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And accountability of it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's being that second eye of watching you. So we put you through, I call it comparison drilling rounds in our posing sessions, and I'm watching for are you hitting your front pose consistently? And if you're not, what is it? Is it your foot that you're messing up? Is it your hip angle where you're pointing? Is it how you're opening up with your shoulders? And then I kind of watch that a few times, and then we take a break. I go over it. Okay, this is what I saw. Now we're going to do technique rounds and drill it. Then we're going to do another round of comparison drilling. And so I pointed it out, we drilled it, and now we're going to see if you got it. And then we're going to see if it's consistent. And we just kind of keep chipping away. So that's what we're there for. We are also, opposing coaches there to, it's to problem solve like your stage presence. And so a big thing that I do with that I encourage with my clients is when you've competed, you've had a show, and your posing isn't done. Send me your stage photos. Send me, we can look them up online, but send me your posing videos. Did your friends or family member or coach get any kind of prejudging footage? Let me see this. Let me see how you navigated the stage. Let me see, like, did you look really nervous? Did you, like, what kind of, like, on stage mistakes did you make? Or what went really well? It's not always about, like, what went bad. It's like, what went well? Let's keep this. That worked. You really understand how to do this, but you don't understand how to do this. So we need to drill this more. We need to see it in action. And then we can kind of plan out your next posing sessions, what your posing plan should be for then the next time you get on stage. So we're to help you do that as well, like create a plan
and figure out what the problems are. Because I know I came to you after my competition season I found that in the comparison rounds, I was always turning to the back slowly, and I couldn't figure out like what it was in terms of like whether my feet were moving too slowly or whatnot. And it was literally the smallest like hand movement change I think that we made that made me just kind of blend in more in terms of, because you don't want to stand out for a bad reason of not turning as quickly. So I think sometimes that helps as well.
Yeah. And so then I think, okay, so talking about like prep, posing coaching in prep, I think happens a lot. But competitors come to us, even brand new competitors, they've started prep and now they want to do posing coaching. And I think that's the like ideal minimum, right? You started prep. Like it's day one, and don't wait until the month before show. Don't wait even halfway through prep. Like you started prep. Okay, now let's start on posing coaching. I think that's the minimum that usually gives us, enough-ish time to really make some good progress on your stage presence and posing is the start of prep when you're a beginner. And I even think for an intermediate and advanced competitor, like it should be kind of the same mindset. Like maybe you know a lot about posing, you have a solid posing foundation and everything, and but you just want to get another eye. Okay, I'm starting prep. Here's where my physique is starting at. Here's what I kind of want to work on. Let's create a game plan for my prep posing kind of thing. And then have some stuff to work on, and then maybe for an intermediate advanced competitor, maybe how it kind of works with me is like they come to me to start a prep, then I might go 4 to 5 weeks because they're working on that foundational stuff. And then and then their physique is changing too. So like with intermediate and advanced, like once we get that halfway point of prep, their physique is really changing. And so we can really start like dialing in, like we're working with their coach too. Like my coach wants me to hit my front pose like this, or they wanted me to maybe show you this and see what you thought about, I get a lot of that. And as their physique is changing and, we need to see more hamstring or we don't, or, we need to see more shoulder or we don't, just stuff like that. And then we're there to then now problem solve it and then check in with them. And so for my intermediate and advanced, we're probably seeing them, I would say when prep is at the halfway point, I'm seeing them either via a video critique or a session every couple of weeks, 2 to 3. Some I've got every week. It just depends on what they need and their comfort level. It's what makes you feel good. If you want to see me multiple times a week, I will see you multiple times a week and we will drill. But I would say that's how intermediate and advanced kind of use it. Do you guys like kind of agree with like that? Yeah, that's kind of how they use it. And then my beginners, I'm typically seeing them, if they're learning and they started prep, I'm going to let them know you probably need to see me every week for the first, at the minimum every 2 weeks, for the first like 2 months, like month and a half, 2 months. Like I'm going to see you.
Yeah, I wanted you to touch on a recommended amount of sessions. I've had some beginner clients come to me and they'll purchase like a 3-pack and they're expecting us to learn everything in that 3-pack.
Yeah.
And so I think just maybe touching on the expectation of how long or how much more ongoing posing is.
That's why I created our curriculum. Our curriculum, I explain our curriculum. So when they start with me in a first session, I do let them know, like, I actually kind of explain my role. I explain my role, what they're going to learn with me, what it looks like, the goal of a first session, and then what the upcoming curriculum is, what they need to learn. So that way they know, like, oh, I'm not just going to be seeing you 2 to 3 times. And I was like, nope. You will be seeing me a lot more than that. Yeah. And, just I walk them through how I do a session. I walk them through the curriculum. I walk them through just everything that they're going to need to know, what I'm there for. And then that just gives them an idea up front. And usually after that, I have a client, they bought the 3-pack or whatever it is. And I let them like, yep, I would recommend using this. Like, I'm seeing you every week for the next 3 weeks. Let's see where you get in that 3-pack, and then we will talk about what you need after that. Maybe we can mix in some video critiques, maybe we can mix in 15-minute sessions. It depends, because typically, if you're a brand new client, you're going to need 30 minutes. The most we offer is 30 minutes, and then it goes 15, and then we have our video critiques. And typically how I use video critiques is in between sessions, so that way, like you mentioned, not practicing bad habits and things like that. I kind of position it that way, is being able to check in quickly on their time, so we can do a video critique and see how their posing is going. I was
going to say, a lot of my advanced athletes love video critiques for quick check-ins, because they're going to be taking a video or doing their own posing practice anyway and videotaping themselves to critique themselves. So they just send me one of those videos and as a video critique, and it's like in between things, they can ask a question like, am I doing this wrong with my foot? Should I do my arm like this or like this, like in one video? Like, they can do their routine twice or something, and I can give them help in between, so they're practicing the right thing until their next session.
And I think something that we do run into is that a lot of people like think that they always need sessions. And don't get me wrong, like, we love sessions and working with you, and they are very valuable, but you get a lot of value out of the video critiques. Like, when people finally start using them, they realize like, I could submit this. And like, because we give very detailed feedback, very detailed. We go through their whole, like, honestly, I apply my curriculum to the video critique. Like, I look at their mandatories first, then I look at their flow and their transitions. Then I want to see comparison. Like, I apply that same thing, and it's very detailed and structured. And then they have that, and then they get to just refer back to that. Kind of like how they have our Loom video, recordings. But once I would say try them. Try video critiques. If you're working with a posing coach that offers video critiques, try them, because especially like once you've like learned, maybe you need a session or 3 to learn your foundational stuff, right? To have stuff to put in the video critique. But then after that, you can really use these video critiques to stay up on your posing and progress, like even learn, like, and then maybe you've done 1 or 2 of those. And you're like, okay, now I'm ready for a session. I really want to like really work on the walk a lot. Like,
or if you're deep in prep and your schedule is just crazy and hectic, but you can only record yourself at your 4 a.m. check-in. Record yourself at your 4 a.m. check-in and send it to me. You're going to get a lot of value out of like submitting a video critique. And it's around your schedule, and it creates less stress. And when you're in prep, and you can create less stress for yourself, but still be using tools to improve during prep, so helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. So yeah, I would say, and like, so yeah, with a beginner in prep, I would say you're going to be seeing probably your posing coach from the start all the way to probably peak week. And even after that, I mean, when you're a brand new competitor, you are probably going to be working with a posing coach for a while throughout your competing career, because there's so much to learn. And even once you, like, I've gotten some brand new competitors at very elite level posing, but even then they got to go do it on stage, and then and their physiques are changing like as they grow and evolve more. And so we're fine tuning, and they're working with the posing coach to fine tune, to learn new things. And so yeah, I would say that's kind of like how you would use posing coaching in preps improvement seasons. So when would you guys, so like we were talking about video critiques, we were talking about like when to use posing sessions, but there's also like group classes and things like that. When would you encourage group classes?
I do it every single time. I don't think it matters when.
Just getting next to other competitors, understanding how to pose next to other girls, and actually transition with other girls, switch places and stuff like that. Show how to angle on the side of the stage, and just kind of have a better idea with people right next to you, and a little bit of pressure definitely helps a lot.
Because there's even been like competitors that come just to watch, to see how things are run, even before they've decided to start.
Yeah, if you don't have if you don't feel ready to participate in group posing classes, that's totally okay. Come watch, see how it goes. Like that, you can never get too much information. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and you might not think that you're nervous because you're like feeling good, but then you might not realize that like once people are watching, you feel differently, and you forget what you're doing, and so it's so eye-opening to like feel the adrenaline of other people watching and the nerves and performing, because because that's truly what you're going to be doing on staging, is performing. And a lot of times when we're practicing, it's really easy just to like, I mean, we're nice, like we'll make you feel comfortable in your own house, and and be like really friendly, but it's just such a different environment, and you have to be somewhere in public and there's all these other girls, and it's like, wait, what am I doing? And so it's like, it makes you like rethink, like, oh, I really have to learn how to pause, think, breathe, remember what I'm doing, remember my skills, remember my technique while being around other people. It's just such a different way of doing it. And honestly, one other thing about posing classes is I didn't have a good posing coach when I first started, but I did meet some of my really good first friends at posing classes, because you meet other women who are going through the same thing as you, and you actually get to connect in real life with real people who are also going through a lot of the same struggles. And so it's a great way to network and find additional support in this sport, because it can be like a lot of alone time in the gym, or maybe some IG friends are encouraging you, but like, you do meet a lot of really great support and network and people. My best friends are because of competing. And so it's nice to, because also when you're at the gym, you have your headphones in, everybody's focused, or should be. And so maybe you don't have to take the time to meet people, but like meeting other people who are like trying it out, or like maybe you find out that all of you are doing the same show. I've had that happen actually at one of our classes. There are girls who came from different coaches, and they came and they were at our seminar, and we were like, okay, who's doing the Boise show in October? And like a bunch of girls raise their hand, they look over at each other and they're like, you too? And so it was really cool, because they got to see that they're doing this prep together, and they're gonna be at the show day together. So even more than a posing coaching thing, I think it is a really good thing as a athlete to meet people.
And another thing too, why posing group classes are so amazing, is I feel like girls will ask questions that you didn't even realize you had. So I think that one is huge.
You might learn, I mean, you might even, it always benefits hearing your coach, your posing coach, maybe like giving you a cue, and then just how someone else said something just clicked for you. Like that happens all the time. Just different verbiage may click for you. But on the other note of that, sometimes in those group classes, you may get some feedback of making a change or doing something. And then you may go show your coach or your posing coach and say, well, at the group class, I was told to do this. And that happens. And here's something, and that's okay. Everyone has a different style, a different eye. That's part of the sport. We kind of all have we have preferences. We do. And we have a certain way we like things, and even all probably different from each other. Like we have, we have our general format and, the general rule of thumb that we're following, but we all have our different style. And so you may get some feedback that's different than what you've been doing, but take that, show your coach, show your posing coach, see if you can make that work, see it, and then they will explain like maybe why we're doing this or why we don't want to do that. Or maybe it's a great idea and you can try it and it worked for you. So just kind of being open, like understanding you may get feedback that you do listen to or don't listen to, and that's okay. That's part of it. That's part of getting, it's good to get different eyes on you, because it's good to just collect that information. It's just more information, and then you work with your team to decide what you're going to use.
Yes.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
And another thing with that too, I just want to emphasize on is I love to tell my girls the why behind everything, because I feel like when you have a why, when you're doing your posing, you're able to actually apply it, and you're going to want to do it better when you have that why. So if other girls are going to other posing coaches, that's great. Like, do it. I'm happy that you're doing that. We can even take things from that and add to it. But if there's something that maybe I have a different eye for, I am going to explain my why we should do it this way rather than this way. Then as a collective with the coach and all, you can make a good decision on what to do moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's like kind of a good segue too into talking about like the different levels of involvement with your competition coach and opposing coach.
Absolutely.
Because we've all had experience with this, probably with our own coaches, and then in working with posing clients, you will have some competition coaches who don't really have their hands in your posing at all. They are focused on the diet or the nutrition, the training, the cardio, like getting your physique ready, and they rely on a posing coach to teach you the stage presence, to teach you the posing, and they rely on that. And so that's one style. And then there's kind of like the middle, I call it, like where they rely on the posing coach to teach you the foundation, teach you what your mandatories are, what your transitions are, your routine, how to walk, how to present yourself. And then they, as you're building that, as you're evolving that foundation, then they may add in their preferences and some tweaks that they see that they may want you to make. And then those coaches may say, I think I want this. Talk to your posing coach, see if you guys can work on creating a little bit more of this shape or doing this with your transition or whatever it is. It's a collaborative effort. I mean, it should all be a collaborative effort, but they rely on the posing coach, but they also give input kind of thing. Yeah. And then there's the coaches who they're very, very skilled in posing, which I think makes a really good coach. And they know your physique, and they know exactly how they want it presented on stage, and how they want you to hit a front pose, how they want you to hit your back pose, how they even want you to transition, what they want your stopping points to look like. They're very particular. And so they may give you that and tell you, and then but they may not have the time to work with you on it. And so they rely on you to take that information, or they may talk to the posing coach themselves. But then they rely on you to relay that information to the posing coach, and the posing coach is then there to help make that happen. They're to teach you the how of the what that the coach wants you to do. And so we problem solve, we teach it, and then you bring it back to the coach, show your progress, work on it, get more feedback from the coach. We're there to then help you more, build on that more. Yeah. So I kind of say, like, you've got the very, very, very involved, and they know exactly what they want. They just need someone to help teach you how. And then you've got the in between, giving input, but still relies on the posing coach a lot to teach the foundation. And then the very hands off. They really rely on the posing coach to kind of teach all of it and make all the calls, kind of thing. As you guys
I've seen all of that, like a whole spectrum of that from clients that I've worked with, and then also even in my own coaching journey, I've had coaches who are all three ways. And even like, and like, I think my last season was probably the third where my coach was very particular, but we worked on my mandatory poses together, and then I worked with my posing coach on things like my routine or flow or troubleshooting something like my weight distribution when I was turning a certain way, where my coach didn't have time to do that, and I used a posing coach as a tool to play, to learn, to advance in certain things, but my coach was super particular on like my.
And a lot of time that I think that happens a lot at those higher levels, maybe higher level coaches, is that, again, they're what matters, mandatories. What matters is the technique of those mandatories. And so they really focus on that. And then the posing coach, I think a lot of the times at those levels, becomes the one that kind of helps with the style, problem solving. And then because, especially at the higher levels, yes, the mandatories is what matters, but a girl who can showcase that, do technique, but also combine some style and confidence and good stage presence, that they need that. That's what makes those top competitors stand out. And so the posing coach is there to help make sure you blend technique with style. And so maybe they are not like harping you on your technique, because that's what the coach is doing. And they're just showing you how to take that technique and put it into style, or put style into it. So I think that happens a lot at the higher level.
Absolutely. And I think this year I also ran into one other dynamic with one of my clients. I hadn't really worked with her before. I'd seen her at some of our posing classes, but her coach last minute asked for a session for the three of us together. And I was like, yes, absolutely, because then the coach can hear my cues and they can continue to progress together. The coach can like see what we're trying to do. And then when we were there, she had a few things that she had a vision for the client, but she didn't know how to have the client execute that. So as a posing coach, she relied on me to be like, oh, well, I can actually tell it's her weight distribution. And she's like, oh. And so like something clicked. It was using another tool, the posing coach as a tool to help her client progress. And I loved it. I only did one session with them, but I think it made a huge difference because now they can progress together, even though the coach she's very good at posing, but she just needed something like another eye, needed another like cue on how to make it happen. And so there's that dynamic too, where it can just be a quick tool of
Because
helping.
you're all working together towards a common goal. And so it's just nice to have everyone on board and on the same
Yeah, and it felt
page.
so collaborative because at the end of the day, I think all of the coaches, posing coach and competition coach, just want the best for the athlete. We all want you to feel good on stage.
Yeah.
We all want you to win in your own goals. Like, we all want you to reach your goals and feel great about it. So that was kind of fun. That was a different experience I had. It was a one time, and I was like, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, that the coach cares enough
Yeah.
to bring in someone else into their journey and just make sure that it works out the best way possible for their client. And I was like, this is cool. I love working so collaboratively. And then they could take that and like going into their peak week, they had what we worked on.
I think that's a good to kind of transition into kind of communicating your posing between your posing coach and your competition coach. And you know, I'm just gonna like I've had some situations where I've had some clients that came to me and told me, they were like, well, I told my coach that you wanted me to do this way, and I was like, that's not really like, you know, that's not what I said. And it can come, just to be aware that it can come across like, we genuinely, I think a good quality posing coach genuinely wants or should be collaborative with your competition coach and understands that there are going to be differences in how we may see things or want things. But at the end of the day, you are your competition coach's athlete, and they are seeing you every single week, multiple times a week. And I think that they make kind of the final call on what you're putting on stage. At the end of the day. And it's, I honestly, it's very rare that we would ever I've never run into like an actual major issue, because it is collaborative. And so what I try to do is like, when a client comes to me and says, well, my coach wants me to do this. And then I just try to understand, okay, show me what it is. Do you know why he or she said that? Because what I've realized is a lot of it is just miscommunication. You may even misunderstood maybe how I wanted you to do something. And so you relate it differently or wrong to your coach. And then maybe they didn't, now they're confused. And so then they're relaying, like, they're like, no, I want this. And then maybe you just don't know how to relay it. So what I try to do is really, when I'm giving you a cue, like Lexi said, explaining the whys, but then also I tell them, okay, go show your coach this and let them know we did this because of this. So that I kind of help like give you like, here's what I need you to tell your coach so it gets relayed the right way. And then let me know what they think. And I always approach it like that. At the end of a session, I am always telling you, like I said in the beginning, I'm asking them, do we have any coaches' feedback? At the end of the session, I say, in your check-in pictures, make sure you use those to practice your posing technique. This is what we worked on. If you need to refer back to this video, make sure your check-in pictures look like this. Let me know what your coach thinks and says. In your posing video, let me know what your coach thinks and says. And that way, it's a collaborative effort. We don't want any like he said, she said, you know, none of that. It should never be that way with your posing coach and competition coach dynamic.
Yeah.
I even had clients share our videos.
Yeah.
Like they'll send the link of our session to their coach when they're trying to figure something out. So there's no missed message. They can literally hear what I'm saying to their client. And that's worked a couple of times. I've even had a coach send me a WhatsApp video of them working together and be like, is this what you guys were trying to do? And I was like, thank you. Yes, of course. And And I mean, obviously it was outside of a session, but it was like nice to have the confirmation with the coach and collaborate.
Well, that's probably why the why is so important, because maybe as a beginner competitor, you might not know, exactly how to demonstrate it correctly, but just letting them know, hey, I wanted more glute projection, or I wanted to, I don't know, hide my delt a little bit more in this position. So this is why we changed this. But also as a new competitor, kind of realizing, I know when I started, I thought that there was like a right way to hit the front pose and then like a wrong way. And so when someone taught me something, I'm like, okay, this is right. This is exactly what we want to do. But it's that constant evolution and constantly changing as your physique gets better. So I don't know that there's actually a right and wrong way, like completely black and white that way.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of times too, when I will ask, so this has actually been a game changer for me this year, is I realized it earlier this year. I would get feedback. I'm like, oh, my coach is saying I'm not turning my belly button enough. And I'm like, thinking back to our last session and, turning my hips enough. And I'm like, well, yeah, we did. And so, but instead of like, you're learning. Especially if you're brand new, I mean, even if you're an intermediate and you just learned a new technique to your front pose, you may not be hitting it consistently. You may not be hitting it in your check-in pictures. You may be taking these check-in pictures at 4 a.m. in the morning when you just woke up and you're stiff, and like it doesn't look like what it looked like when we did our posing session. And so I then now ask, I'm like, can you send me your check-in pictures that you sent your coach? And so can you send those over to me WhatsApp, and then let me assess, let me see. Now I can take what you're saying your coach said. I can look at what your coach was looking at 10 times out of 10. It is like, oh, yes, exactly. What we went over is you weren't angling your foot this way. You just weren't doing that in your check-in picture. You got to make sure in your check-in pictures, this is your checklist of things. And I'd let them know your check-in pictures are your coach's opportunity to assess your physique and your posing. They don't see all of the posing practice videos that you've been doing in between these check-in pictures. They're not in on our sessions most of the time. And so they're not seeing these adjustments we're making. They are just seeing the check-in picture and maybe your check-in video. And if, and even to this day, we don't all hit it perfectly. Sometimes there's just a day where the angle was not right. And so, I now ask I think that if you're working with a different posing coach, and you bring feedback to your posing coach and vice versa, show the posing coach, show the competition coach, show the competition coach our posing videos, our video critique video, show your posing coach the check-in picture and check-in video you sent your coach, and now you're getting feedback on this, because then we can all put the pieces of the puzzle together and work as a team.
And and that made me even think about how you're saying the why, if your coach is saying oh, you need to adjust your front pose, maybe asking them what they're looking for. Are you looking for more upper glute, or are you looking for my glute to show more in the front pose? Then you could take it to your posing coach and be like, instead of my coach just wants me to change my front pose, say my coach is looking for more glute in my front pose. How do we execute that? And so it's knowing the why of what your coach is looking for can help your posing coach translate and help you find that, so you're actually doing what your competition coach is wanting you to do. And so there's the why from both sides, and because it's just as that helps with the communication and the collaboration overall, because maybe your competition coach doesn't know how to have you execute that pose, and that's why you're using the expert and the posing coach to do that. So instead of being my coach wants me to hit it like this, maybe asking my coach what is your coach ask your coach, what are they looking for? Are you needing me to have my waist look smaller? Are you needing me to look more balanced from top to bottom? And then your posing coach can figure that out, so that then you can take it back to your coach and be like, we fixed it. Does this look better? Is there anything else we can adjust? And it's always a long work in progress. I swear my front pose has changed so much over the years, and not just for my physically, but just even my cues and learning body awareness, and then going through and working with so many different coaches and posing coaches over the years, and just knowing yourself better.
And another thing too, with your check-in photos with your coach, I would definitely encourage maybe doing a few rounds and then look back over before you send your check-ins. And how I teach things is always going to be a breakdown of the feet up, typically, is how I do it. So if you take your check-in photos, look back, you should have the knowledge now of what your physique should be looking like from our session, and you can do your checklist of, are my feet in the right spot? Are my hips angled properly? Is this like what I took from my last session with my posing coach? And then send them in, just so there's no miscommunication with just your poses itself
Right.
between your coaches and posing coaches.
Show them you've been working hard.
Yeah.
Show them all the hard work you've been doing.
Yeah. I think one of the kind of like one of the things I wanted to go over in this episode too was like online sessions versus in-person sessions. I definitely started out posing coaching probably my first 2 years, doing mostly and a lot of in person. Like that's really where I started posing coaching. And then as it evolved, now I 100% do online. I know you do 100% online. It's very rare. You
I
sometimes
have a couple
do
one-offs where I do some in person.
Yeah.
But
And you do a mix of
Primarily online, but if they can make it in person, great. Yeah.
Do you think? And so some of the feedback, like sometimes I hear of like people think, especially it's more so brand new. It's more so the brand new to competing. And I hear people say like they need an in-person posing coach and they only want in person. And so like how do you guys like address that with when you hear that?
I just encourage them to do one session with me.
Yeah, just try me once.
Seriously though, I'm like, if you can, please just try one session, and then they will notice the value of what your call is like and be like, oh, maybe I can be an online call girl, you know?
I encourage them, yes, try one. I also explain to them like my philosophy is I kind of think I think nowadays almost a lot of coaching is done online. I mean, even LPF coaching.
Yes.
Like you can do LPF like coaching online. You can do posing coaching online. There's competition coaching online. And I think nowadays, for the most part, if you would like a quality coach at whatever it is, it's probably going to be someone online because that's nationwide, worldwide. And these people have experience working with multiple different body types, people, and so they've got a lot of experience rather than someone who is just maybe local to you. Now there may be great talent local to you, but a lot of the times you're going to be probably finding quality like outside, just with the way the world works now with technology and things like that and our access to it. And so that's online posing coach is probably the number one way now. It is the way, whether that's online sessions, video critiques, using online courses and guides. That's the number one way now. And then I would argue that online is almost more valuable. It's almost better because you are forced to truly understand the cues and the posing and the cues, what you need to do and how it feels, rather than someone manipulating your body for you. And you won't have that on stage. You need to know what the cue is, how it feels in your body when you do it right and wrong. And so online sessions, it forces that. And I think if you have a quality posing coach that knows how to structure a posing session, like we talked about, that knows how to communicate and articulate cues and information to you, you will never notice the difference. I can see that in person is sometimes nice because we do live in a world that is all technology and all online nowadays. So it's nice sometimes to get that connection in person and it feels good and stuff. But in regards, if you're working with a quality coach, they should be able to do equal things in person and online, I think. And so, I think it's...
Yeah, and there's even like some convenience too. You don't have to drive somewhere. The coach doesn't have to drive somewhere. The availability is more available. Like I can do a lot more sessions when I'm virtual than if I were going to wait around at a gym or a posing studio. And so a lot of times, you can actually have someone who is like sitting there focused and ready
It could be more cost effective too, because I know for us, for in person, we have to charge more because we have to pay studio use fees. And so if you're working with an in person posing coach, you're going to probably pay a much higher fee because you're paying not only for the service time, but you're also paying for maybe their transportation time. They have to increase prices. They have to pay a studio fee. So you might pay a lot more for a 30-minute, 45-minute posing session than you would online that is the same value, if not better.
And honestly, our recordings are a huge
Yeah.
value. We've gone over
No.
kind of a lot of like we've mentioned it multiple times on when you could use it, with even troubleshooting things with your competition coach, with doing homework, with reviewing the cues. You can't take notes while you're actually standing in your heels in a bikini. This takes notes for you. And I actually even left an in-person posing session a couple months ago, and I was like, we didn't write anything down. Like, I can't send her like what we worked on. And I felt like she got less than my girls that are on virtual, because when I leave a virtual session, I'm sitting at my computer. I put in the Zoom link. I put in like WhatsApp. I send them a message. It's all there. We have a history of like everything that we just worked on. And my like in-person one, it's like I meet at the studio. I go to the gym. I don't talk to. It's like, what did we work on?
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a lot of different value that you can get out of it too. And I do like how you said, I really, really, truly think that virtual does force you to have to think and learn your own body awareness, because it's so easy for a posing coach in person to walk up and move your arm. Just be like, here you go. And it's so easy for us to grab your foot and put it in the right spot, instead of making you think and be like, okay, your left foot, you need to have your weight fully in the left foot. You need to have your right arm higher up, and so then you have to like literally think and connect and
what
Yeah.
and what I do too, when we give you these cues, something I do is like, so I give them a cue and they do it, and I go, okay, what did that feel like to you? Connect with your body. Like, like, oh, I felt that in my lat. I was like, okay, let's reset. Do it again. And so now they know to chase that feeling, whatever it was, and then they got it. Like, I then ask, that's what I'm saying, is a quality posing coach knows how to coach you, knows what to ask you, get that feedback from you in order to help you. Maybe we need to adjust that cue, or maybe we need to explain it in a different way. Maybe we, and so when you do something, we're able to then say, like, you almost are giving yourself your own cue.
I was just going to say that, because online I think is more advantageous, because they are giving you the cues, but you're applying it yourself as the athlete.
Yes.
So like you're saying, like they're not moving your hand for you, because I know that if someone did that for me, then it's hard for me to remember what they did. But then you're also, I think most of the time, also relying more on the mirror when you're posing in person. And so usually I think online it's usually towards your phone, which is more close to what stages and things like that. So it might be a little bit more helpful that way.
We get up, we're not just sitting in chairs. Like, we get up and, there may be a session where we are just sitting, like, you may be to a point, but like, we get up and we are showing you, showing you and demonstrating what we want you to do, because to give you a visual, and then now you go do it. And then also we can show things at different angles. So a lot of times, like in a back pose, we turn to the side so you can see my side profile, see how I march, see how I'm hinging. When I hit footwork. Oh, this is key for footwork. When we're teaching footwork, I angle my camera down to just my feet, and I will turn a different way. It may not even be so you can see how far back I'm stepping or not stepping, how tight my feet are or not, and
toes and weight
where we're
distribution.
pointing our toes, everything. And so you can get a visual to that, to our words, and then you apply it, and then we fine tune and critique and adjust from there. So it's all totally doable.
And then another thing, so I ask my clients, after I give them a cue, I ask them to reiterate it back to me. Like, okay, so I told you this cue. Now, could you tell me kind of what you heard, basically, and have them explain it in their own words? And I can kind of catch them like, oh, well, actually, what I mean by that is, and give them more of a better understanding, or maybe I needed to say it a little bit differently and catch them on the misunderstanding. So I'm really big on making sure that they kind of say it back to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll do when we go through like technique drilling, and we're going through like our stopping points and even working on transitions. But when they stop, if I can see, because at some point, me constantly saying, fix your right shoulder, fix your right shoulder, fix your right shoulder, that's not helping you.
Yeah.
And so clearly you're not getting it. So we've got to figure out how to get it so I don't have to give that cueing over. Because again, what we're doing is teaching you, like, you won't have us on stage. I mean, I kind of want to invent some earrings with like little mics in them, but right. But we don't have that. So you won't have us on stage, and so you need to understand your cues and what they feel like. And so what I will do is when you stop, I will say, okay, what do you think you need to do with your left foot?
Yes, exactly.
And then I'm like, what do you think you need to do with your shoulders? And they're like, oh yeah. And then, okay, let's go again, reset, and then do it. And then I'm like, what do you think you need to do with your shoulders? I'm like, oh. And maybe we have to do that, but I'm not giving you the answer. You've got to think about it and problem solve it. But then usually by that second, third time, you've got it, and you're not doing that thing with your shoulders. And so it's just like, this is where it like, this whole episode is to describe to you guys what posing coaching is and what our role is, and it's to do all of this, what we've just been talking about.
So much.
There's so much. There's so much that we pour into this, and we love it. And like, that's just like what we specialize in, and it's these little nuances to get you ready to do it on stage. It's not just teaching you a routine. Like, a lot of people start out thinking, oh, I need to learn my routine.
Yeah.
Or I need to come learn the flow, but you don't have any structure to anything yet. That comes later.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times I read like the intake form, and it's like a first time working with someone. Maybe they've done 1 or 2 shows before, and so they say beginner, intermediate. You know, they're aware that they're not advanced, but they're, what do you want to work on? Question. They always say routine and flow, or like their arm movements, and I'm like, okay, sounds great. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's just start with your front pose. And they're like, okay, so we'll get to your routine in a couple sessions. We have to, work on your foundation. And it's surprising how much it's like, if you don't have the foundation, and like,
I
I
said this to a client. I've had like some heart to hearts, and like, it's paid off. It's paid off, and I'm always going to be like this, and she wanted to focus on routine and flow and her like hip swaying, and I told her, and to be honest, she actually was a really decent, good poser. But she wanted to be, and I used to do that. I know this because I used to do this. I was the dancey poser. Like, I am a dancey poser, but I've now realized, okay, mandatory stopping points come first, technique number 1, priority. So I talked to her, and I told her, like, you get away with this, but when you look at your pictures, you don't like them, do you? And she's like, no, I hate my stage pictures. And I'm like, because you're so focused on the transitions, the routine, that you aren't landing your stopping points, your poses in a polished way. And I was like, so if you never focus on this, you will always look like you have sloppy pictures. And she was like, I don't want that. And I'm like, don't you want to look at your pictures one day and like want to post them all, like them? How you get that is not a flashy routine. It's actually just learning how to land your stopping points in a polished way, and then we bring in the routine little by little, the flow little by little in between each of these stopping points. But we can't do all of this until we get this. And so actually what she started sending me is technique rounds. And then she's like, okay, I did that. Well, actually, how I recommend that, how I tell my girls to structure their posing practice is start out with technique rounds, remind your mind and body what your technique cues are, then focus on your flow, then do your routine. But do not worry about your routine at all. I want you to just focus step by step, remind your body, then do routine. So she sends me her technique round video, and then she sends me her routine video. And it, like, when we started doing that, it just all came together. And I was like, see? Yeah. And so it's like just having that's what we've been saying. The basics go a long, long way, and they are the foundation to your flow, to the prettiness. Like, you will always look like a sloppy poser if you can never, it sounds terrible, but it really is true. Like, if you never like fully grasp mentally and physically your foundation. Like, it just...
And give yourself time to do that. That's like my biggest recommendation.
Because it takes time.
It takes so much longer. And I and when you give your posing coach a tight timeline, then they feel like they have to push through the curriculum before your foundation is mastered. And we want you to feel successful with the basics and the foundation. And so it's like, but we also have a lot. Clearly, if you were listening to this whole episode, we have a lot to cover. And sometimes less is more. Sometimes it pays off. Well,
all the time. Yeah, I know.
So, but except for more sessions is better than less sessions.
Okay.
But in your routine or in your transitions or in your posing in general,
All of us
less
have
is
simplified our routine,
Yep.
our posing.
100%.
Yes.
All of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's a pro. She's an Olympian, and like no, all of us has simplified.
Yeah.
It pays. It's so much better. Like, wouldn't you rather look like perfect in your mandatory poses than flashy and spinning around, but like miss your poses? Like, it's at the end of the day, it is still a bodybuilding competition, and they are still looking for those mandatory physique poses.
And it's super easy. Well, I should say it's way more simple to put together your routine when you have all the mandatories down. Like, it's not such a big jump.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't seem as stressful. Yeah.
The building blocks are there.
Exactly.
Yes, and then that's perfect. You're not as overwhelmed, and you can grasp everything you're learning. Like, learning the foundation is hard. Wait till you start adding choreography to it. Like, it is like, wait, what? You want me to do something with my arms and my hips with
And
my
your
feet
face.
moving and
Yeah.
smile and hold my core in?
Yeah.
It gets crazy, guys. Like, the layers to posing is a lot. But yes, if you feel so solid and confident in your foundation, then you're ready to learn the flow, the finesse, and you're going to feel confident that you can do it because you showed yourself you could master the foundation. You're like, all right, next step, ready for the next thing. And that's what like stage presence is. It's displaying confidence in your physique on stage. And if you go up there and you're like try to crash course learn posing, you only focused on your routine, and now you're just overwhelmed and stressed out, it's going to show on stage. You're going to see it in your face. Maybe you're shaking your body, like you're going to see it. And the girls that you see on stage, online, that you love their posing, they are so calm, they're effortless. And the reason is because graceful, elegant. Like, these are all the words that we use and we're trying to achieve. And that's what's visually appealing to most eyes. And they look like that because they are confident, they have mastered their craft. They have mastered it.
It's an art.
It's an art, and they didn't get there. And that's actually something that's also really important, is a lot of that you see is, there definitely are the rare ones where I've got some girls, I'm like, dang it, you're brand new. Like, what? Like, I'm like, man, I wish I looked like that, as like, not just physique wise, but posing wise, brand new. Like, but it is, a lot of times these people have like many years under their belt. They've got a lot of shows under their belt, a lot of experience. Yes. And so it's going to take you some time, and that's okay. But start with the posing coach immediately, so that way you shorten that time.
And how she was just mentioning what's the most appealing on stage. And it's also very appealing to watch someone who looks like they want to be there and is enjoying being on stage.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch someone who looks like they don't want to be there. It's like, you just spent months grinding. You've worked really hard for this. Like, why do you look like you don't want to be there? And it's probably because they're nervous or they feel unprepared, and it doesn't make for a good experience. And I have said this 1,000 times, but we do this for fun. And so if you're not having fun at this, like, why are you doing this? So it's like, if you want your show day to be fun, it's easier to have fun when you're confident and you're prepared. Because if you're prepared, you're not sitting there in fear and worry and anxiety. You're more like, you're going to enjoy the experience more. And we did this whole thing as a choice for fun. So have fun with it. Help yourself have fun.
Our slogan for performance posing and on our website is, we're here to help you walk on stage prepared and walk off proud. And but you got to let us do that, because we know how to do that. And we're here to help guide you through that. But our, like, really in our hearts is like, we are here to prepare you. And we literally want you to just walk off that stage proud. Like, we want you to feel like you were prepared. Like you are, like, you knew even though you maybe kind of blacked out, like you just felt confident and like you did it, like, and that you like your pictures, you like your video, and like that's like our whole, like, that's what we want.
You worked so hard to be there, like down to measuring all your food, packing your lunches everywhere, skipping dinners, and bringing your own food to restaurants, and doing cardio in the morning, sweating, scheduling sessions with your posing coach over and over and over again, and being frustrated by having to figure stuff out. Like, you spend months and months and months, and if you did it in a long improvement season beforehand, you spent so many hours in the gym. Like, why would you put off what you can do to be ready to really truly enjoy that day and be so proud of that entire journey? And posing is just part of that journey, and so if you put it off, it doesn't help. It's just one of the parts of the puzzle, and it makes a huge difference.
After all of that, you deserve to walk off stage proud.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that is our, anything else to add? Anything?
Perfect,
That is our posing coach and competition coach and what is posing coaching episode. And if you would like help with your posing and to walk on stage prepared and walk off proud, you can reach all of us at performanceposing.com. We are available for posing sessions, video critiques. If you're in person, we have quarterly group classes. But all of our information is on our website and on our Instagram at performanceposing. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.